How's it going, everyone? I got a special guest today. My name's Cohn, and this is Kelly Barr. Some of you may know Kelly Barr. He came on the show a year ago when I was on Periscope, the day after the Niners lost the Super Bowl. A lot of Niner fans were kind of feeling sad for Kyle Shanahan, empathetic for Kyle Shanahan, and Kelly came on and gave about a 20-minute rant that was legendary. It's on my YouTube channel. You could probably search for it. I forget what it's called. So some of you should know him, but he's back. Got to have Kelly on at the end of the Niner season to make it all make sense. Kelly, great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Oh, glad to be here, Grant. Anytime you can talk about Niners is a good day for me.
All right, so the season's over. It was a 6-10 year. It was a disaster in a lot of ways. Most people giving the Niners a pass because that's the way it goes around here. I'm curious to see what you think, what your take is on the Niners 4 years into this new regime.
Well, Grant, first I'll let the viewers know, anybody watching, I'm coming to you from a strictly fans perspective. I'm not watching all 22. I don't have any inside sources. I talked to a few podcast people, but this is just a man watching his beloved Niners. Mm-hmm. I'm all for a pass this year. It's hard to hold them accountable for the number of injuries they had. But as I told you before we started this, part of the reason we have a problem fixing things is because we want to move past where things started and just worry about where we are in this moment and not realize how you got there.
That's right.
Now, I wanted to go back to the very beginning and look at the first decision they made of consequence was, I want Kirk Cousins as my franchise quarterback. Now,
that was the original sin.
Yeah, I get having the guy you like. It's the guy you drafted with your dad in Washington. But who starts a rebuild with a high-priced free agent quarterback?
And they didn't even have him, Kelly. They had Brian Hoyer. The idea was to get him down the line. Andy Reid, when he went to Kansas City, got Alex Smith, but at least he got him. They didn't even have him.
They didn't have him. They were looking at a complete free agent. They couldn't trade for him. They had to bid with everybody else for Kirk Cousins' services at the end of the first year of their regime. And that made no sense to me. The only way it made sense is which doesn't make sense either because Jed gave them security. So the only way it would have made sense if you feared for your job and you were like, let me get the safe thing and at least go 8-8, 9-7, and steady the waters because I don't want to get fired right away. They had the security to go for Mahomes, or who are we talking about today on 49ers Twitter?
Watson.
Yep. You had that opportunity laid before you.
They give you a 6-year deal. That's a green light to draft a quarterback and start him right away. Go ahead.
Start him right away. You can lose. It's not a concern. You got security. You got 6 years deals for you and Lynch, but you didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the power structure. I keep hearing John Lynch talked about. And I got nothing against John Lynch. Don't know the man, but he was a broadcast person. After being a safety in the NFL, a good safety. He had no personnel experience. But the other day in the press conference, he talked like when me and Jed sat down with Kyle. What are you talking about?
Right.
Kyle already had the job. We all knew in Atlanta that he was hired for the Niners and he was going to pick his GM. So everybody talks like Kyle is just this head coach who has just been put upon by this front office.
True.
It's his front office. Yes. He put it together. Every piece of this organization, besides Jed York, has Kyle's fingerprints all over it.
Correct.
But we talk about, the offense, that's just Kyle's baby. The defense, that's solid.
Get him a quarterback and he'll be fine. These are his quarterbacks.
I've been trying to start the hashtag Kyle's QBs. Because we talk about these guys like they were just, fell out of the sky.
Yeah, that's true.
TJ Beathard was drafted by it, traded up to draft him. Nick Mullins signed as an undrafted free agent, kept on board for 4 years. And Jimmy Garoppolo was traded for in the middle of your first season and given a lucrative contract after 5 games. These were all Kyle's decisions.
Yes, but he didn't want Tom Brady. He didn't want Patrick Mahomes. He's had any number of options, and these are the choices he made.
These are the choices, but nobody holds him accountable for them. And I'm starting to think it's PTSD from, Chip Kelly and Tom Sula. It's like things were so bad, we'll put up with almost anything.
That's right.
Just as long as we don't go back to that misery.
And what I see is a guy who's a coordinator, not a head coach. All of these deficiencies that we point out are deficiencies of a guy who's not the leader.
He doesn't. And that's my thing. And that's where I go to. Like, he is a great offensive mind.
Yes.
But look at his decision making. Like, you worry about numbers at the end of some of these games.
Yeah.
Like, look at the decisions they're making at the end of some of these games, and then look at the outcome. Like, you have the game if you make it.
Oh, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Keep going.
You have some wins if you make better decisions towards the end of some of these games. You have a better health as far as your team with some of the decisions you make as far as players you bring in. It's like they still trying to prove something to somebody. I don't know who he's trying to prove something to, but it's like, if they say go right, I'm going left.
They've had a turnover issue for 4 years in a row. They've had an injury issue for 4 years in a row. They haven't found the quarterback that they want, and they're heading into year 5. These are all the markers of a team with a bad head coach. Now, he may be a great offensive coordinator. The other day, Robert Saleh called him one of the greatest offensive coordinators of all time. Well, that's a little rich, but he's not proven as a head coach. These are the ways you evaluate a head coach.
Right. And where is the improvement as a head coach? Like, have we seen a lot of improvement as far as time management?
No.
Have we seen it as far as personnel goes?
No.
Like this, I was thinking earlier what you could call this. You could call this chasing your tail, because that's what it appears like they do. Like 4th and goal, I was listening to them the other day, and they made beautiful points, like how we had chased the wide receiver, still chasing the mistake of Dante Pettis.
That's right.
Look at linebacker. We're still paying for the mistake of Reuben Foster.
Correct.
Look at D-line. You're still paying for the mistake of Solomon Thomas.
That's right.
You just chase, and you never just fix it.
And it adds up to 8 picks, 9 picks.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, they want us to go after a high-priced quarterback in the draft or a high pick. It's like, do you realize they don't really have the resources?
Right. And again, you're chasing your original mistake. You could have had Watson. And now, since you messed that up, now you want to trade 7 first-round picks or whatever it would take to get him. No. You made a mistake. Now you're just compounding it, trading all your assets, even assets you don't even have, for one guy. He didn't win this year in Houston. Quarterbacks need a team. They're not Superman. It's not basketball.
It's not. And I mean, I get that the quarterback is going to make the O-line better, but I mean, nobody says it, but can we talk about the fact that they basically ruined this journeyman that was turning into something in Brunt Scales? Yep. Brunt Scales was turning into a very good either left or right tackle. So what do you do with him? You turn him into a guard.
Yep.
And when you feel like that's a little shaky, now we need you emergency at center. I've never heard of an offensive lineman that works at every freaking position, unless it's during that game, the whole team falls out. But they just kept moving this guy around when he showed you, even if you didn't want to make him your right or your left, like you brought in Williams, fine. He's your swing tackle.
Yeah.
Swing tackle is important in this league. You're done.
Hey, Kelly, I'm not sure that he's any worse than Mike McGlinchey right now.
I think he's better than. He showed up last year. He could have played. He played both well. I don't know what he's doing at guard. I don't know how good it is, but we knew what he was there. So it's like they just keep trying to change things. Let's talk about Wilson Jr.
Yes,
we all saw him coming, but he was under the bench under Coleman. Why? We saw it last year. He turned to the red zone back and did nothing but score a touchdown. And you just buried him at the back of the damn depth chart.
Because he's friends with Tevin Coleman, because he plays favorites. And again, a head coach doesn't play favorites. Head coach doesn't.
And that's
again, Mike McGlinchey right now, they're already saying his job isn't
no jeopardy.
In jeopardy. It should be. He hasn't played well enough. It's the NFL. You should bring in competition. But again, Kyle won't do it because the head coach in him isn't up to it.
and they say they want to be New England, West, I guess, right? Like, who is the most cutthroat organization in the league? Like, Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Like, you can't cry up there during a press conference. They don't care. Like, they cut Ty Law, like Vrabel, all these guys. Like, when it was your time to go, or a little before, I mean, they traded Seymour. He still had years left in him. They don't care. But here the Niners are, well, he's a good guy, and we want to bring him back for that reason. I mean, and then, like, let's go back to the injuries. Like, we do this every year. You remember Adrian Colbert, was it?
Yes. Yes.
Like, I mean, he was a fan favorite. Like, came in, at the end of the year, due to injuries, played half decent. Now he can't even get a job in the league. We're doing it this year with Witherspoon. Like, he had a couple of good games against, okay, average passing games. And now all of a sudden, like, they didn't even go after his weakness. Like, if you'd have seen him, like, improve and show, the deep ball, he can track and find the ball now. He did it once for that little interception. Beyond that, the Cowboys just didn't go after it. I was at that game. They just didn't go deep.
Cardinals did, and they got him. Cardinals got him with Christian Kirk.
Right. Kirk got him. But everybody was like, well, look at the rest of the game. It's kind of like they said with McGlinchey. Okay, you get beat twice, but both times you get a sack fumble. Or it causes the interception. Like, those are big misses. So it's like this team, I feel like you said, like, I feel like it's a rebuild, but nobody wants to admit it.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. Last year when we talked, you were saying, look, everyone's saying bring this team back next year. Why? It wasn't good enough. And the thing is, if you try to stay the same, you get worse. And that's what happened to the Niners this year. You never stay the same.
They want to do again. That's all I'm hearing again.
Bring it back.
We can get these free agents back that we got loose. I mean, Sherman, how many games did he play this year? Like 3?
4, like 5, And they lost 4 of them.
The fan base for that. Like, he's still a Seahawk in my eyes. His only hope was to win that Super Bowl in a Niners uniform. Beyond that, then I ain't forgot the Legion of Boom. Like,
he's one of the main reasons they didn't win that Super Bowl, because he messed up on blocking. I mean,
I'm telling you, late in that game, like, So
he
it's
prevented the Niners from winning 2 Super Bowls, the one he was in and the one he knocked the ball away from Crabtree.
Right.
Yep.
It makes me sick to my stomach. Like, I don't know what their problem is. It's like I said, they keep chasing their tail. Like, they keep trying to fix mistakes that they made years ago.
Well, the way I look at it, Kelly, is that they're starting over. They were building something. They're 4 years in, and now they're going to have maybe 3 new quarterbacks next year, a new defensive coordinator, a new run game coordinator, new pass game coordinator, all kind of new coaches. I mean, they have 29 unrestricted free agents. It's a new team next year. They have to kind of start over.
They do, but nobody sees it. Like, everybody's like, we're going to bounce back and, like, look at what we – like, this year could have been an amazing year, but you set yourself up for failure. And then here you go again going into this offseason. Like, Robbie Gould again. He cost you a game last year against the Seahawks. He wasn't even healthy enough. You have your kicker, you win that game. Your franchise tag kicker.
Tristan Vizcaino has a stronger leg right now than Robbie Gould. Right now.
Anything 50 and beyond, like, don't even run Robbie out there.
True.
But, we got a 4th round punter, so, he's amazing.
And special teams is still a major weakness.
Special teams. I'm looking every week like, who is the special teams guy?
When you saw it was River Craycraft, did you laugh? I laughed.
No, well, I laughed at when McKinnon returning kicks. Like, that was awful. Like, he couldn't even get back to the 25.
It's like, dude, let it bounce. Don't even try. Who you kidding, man? Sorry.
Why are you holding on to McKinnon? Again, what are you chasing? Your mistake from 3 years ago?
I'm telling you, a real head coach cuts bait. Jared, sorry, I was wrong.
That's what Kyle and them won't do. They won't take ownership of the mistakes they make. Everything, like you said, it's an excuse. It's a reason behind why it failed.
4 years of excuses for CJ Beathard. That guy shouldn't have been on the team for more than 2 years. You kidding?
That's a roster spot.
Yes.
Like, what are some of the players we let go of DJ Reed?
Yep. To keep CJ Beathard.
We kept 3 quarterbacks.
That's right.
We got 3 quarterbacks. 3. What did Kyle? Now, did Kyle ever say? I heard him say it, but he didn't admit it. Like, I think he's admitted that Mullins nor CJ are in NFL starter caliber.
That's
right?
what he said. He said, I've always felt like they could become starters, but they haven't proven it yet.
But they haven't proven it yet.
Yeah.
Like in 3 years in your system.
And they've both had about 10 starts. I mean, they've had opportunities. I mean, I think Mullins has 16.
Some of the things Mullins does, but he's not. He's a reliable backup at best. Could get better over time. Maybe Tommy John, nobody talks about it, but in the pros and baseball, Tommy John makes your arm stronger.
That's what I was saying. In baseball, it makes your arm stronger. In football, there's not much of a track record because it's not really a football injury.
There's nobody to judge it on. But
exactly, yeah.
Arm, like stronger is stronger. Like the muscle gets stronger.
That's right.
He ought to have.
Because the whole thing is you take a wrist muscle and put it in there and it becomes all right.
It's thicker, and once it heals. But I mean, like I say, they put this thing together, but look at these other mistakes, okay? Center. Like your center didn't touch the field.
Yep.
Your high play center.
What did you expect?
Why Cohn Alexander on this team going into the season? We knew Greenlaw was it. Why are you telling us it's raining when you're pissing down our neck?
That's right.
Like
that's right.
We knew Greenlaw was better than Cohn Alexander. No, Cohn, he's the leader. He's a voice in the locker room. Oh, well, we need to trade him now.
Right.
We got to send him to the Saints. Like
we knew it. It was obvious. How come we can see these things like a year or more before Kyle Shanahan? I don't get that.
I don't either. I mean,
obvious. We're not even experts.
We're not. I'm definitely not an expert, but like, I mean, I can see. Like I have eyes, I can see Cohn. Like I'm not dismissing what he brought in the beginning, but that doesn't change. Just like you can move on from Emmanuel Sanders, and I didn't think that was wise, but it ended up working out. Like you can move on from Cohn Alexander. Like you set his contract up to be able to get out of it.
Also, all the playing time he got for all those years until he tore his ACL, he was not an NFL player. He goes out, you see guys like Kentavious Street, Kevin Givens, all better than him. This guy got a lot of like 600 snaps a season. Dude, what in the world?
Man, so, I mean, we give away picks when this organization has shown one thing since Kyle has been there. They can draft late. But it's like they throwing away picks. That's why Mitch upsets me. Because Greenlaw is 5th round?
Yep.
Kittles was 5th, 4th? 5th. Like that's why that upsets me, because you picked a punter there when you have a proven track record to be able to find gems late in the draft. So there was
that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was available, a quarterback was available, Jared Stidham, and you went punter. Rarely, okay.
You do a good job at this. Like do what you do well. Yep. Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yep. And punter is literally the easiest position to find. Like there are punters on the street right now who can boom it like 45 yards on average. No problem. Easy position to find.
We just put too much value in the wrong things. And like you said, running back. Like, tell me this, okay? I'm going to give you a perfect analogy. Pittsburgh, right? Like I want whoever they receiver guy is, like scout, whoever, if he's the coach, whoever he is, the receivers, the Pittsburgh Steelers find receivers. Year in, year out. I don't know why they did Claypool. Like they find guys in the 2nd, 3rd round and turn them into start. And they never pay a wide out because they know what they have. They didn't pay Plexico. They didn't want to pay Antonio too much. Like they kept a little wiggle room with that.
Like Wallace, see you later, dude. Bye.
Wallace. Yep. Now we had the same thing in running back. This guy has been proven over decades. And yet here we go, steadily putting resources into that position.
They're going to do it again this offseason.
And about to probably do it again this offseason.
That's right. Jerick McKinnon was one of the worst. And then, you know what? He got hurt. Tevin Coleman didn't really get hurt. Tevin Coleman signed, played poorly for 2 years, and Kyle really couldn't pivot away until the very end. He plays favorites. It's not a team. It's like a clique. And there's the clique of people that are in with Kyle and the ones who aren't. And for whatever reason, his 1st-round picks are in. Mike McGlinchey's in, and that's just the way it is. That's no way to run a team.
If you're not sure about his 5th-year option, then why are you saying you in? If you're not sure you're going to pick up, like, why wouldn't that already be done if he's your guy?
Yep. So, I mean, I understand why Niner fans like Kyle Shanahan and are optimistic for the future. He's a very, very bright guy. But I'm starting to get a little bit of a Norv Turner vibe. I mean, Norv Turner was the head coach in Washington for 7 years, and they believed in him. He was the man in the 90s. He won Super Bowls in Dallas, and it never worked out for him. He just wasn't a head coach. I'm curious to see if that's the thing with Kyle. Another thing I'm noticing with him is it feels like what happened to Atlanta. I mean, Kyle was a superstar on that staff, and he left, and look what happened to Atlanta. I think Saleh is the superstar on this staff. He's leaving. I'm curious. He's been carrying this team for 2 years. The defense has been better than the offense for 2 years. Curious to see what happens to this team if the defense falls apart. You know,
I mean, you make some very valid points there, and I mean, if you look at it as a whole, like this team has never gone that far on the head coach's acumen.
Nope.
Like the Patriots, yeah, they had Brady, but see, I say Brady isn't the GOAT because the Patriots defense carried him for at least two, possibly three of those championships. Yep. Like Montana was the guy for every championship they won. Okay, Rice won one MVP. Like who was throwing him the ball? Like Montana was, or Young. Like so.
Right. But
has the Niners, our one great season under Kyle was built largely on the defense.
Yes. The defense was better than the offense last season. That's a fact.
Right. I mean, yes, back half of the year, you lost forward. You lost a little of the pressure. So, the offense had to pick up the slack. Period.
And the run game was terrific, but they still turned the ball over about 23 times. With the defense that much, you wouldn't want an offense to turn the ball over that much. They put the defense in a lot of bad positions. They consistently do that on offense, despite having the run game.
And I just don't get why every year, like, you would want to put your thing to. What did Kittle say? I'm tired of talking about quarterback.
Yep.
But here you put yourself in a position where you're probably going to be stuck with Garoppolo another year.
Yep.
And what are we going to talk about all year? Just like 2019, we talked about coming off the ACL. Like, we're going to be talking about coming off the ankle, coming off of the concerns over the offseason. Maybe they talking about, well, let's just hold on to him. And, we'll try to get somebody in free agency. We'll try to get somebody in the draft. And then, like, what kind of lady wants you after that? Like, you just tried to get rid of me twice. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to be all in love all of a sudden. And
look, you're still my girlfriend, but I'm going to be on Tinder. I'm going to be at the bars. I'm going to be looking in every avenue for a replacement. But until I find one, let's have a nice time.
But if I don't find her, if I don't find Mrs. Right, you are the next best thing, honey. Let me tell you. Yeah. So, I don't know how you build an organization.
And Jimmy has pride. He's in his mind, New England still likes him. I think he feels like, I don't have to put up with this. If you don't want me, let me know. I'll go back to New England where I should have been this whole time. That's how he feels.
Where I knew Bill didn't really want to get rid of me anyway. Right. He just didn't have much of a choice.
Let me ask you this. What would you do at quarterback if you were running this team? I know it's a tough question and there may not be a right answer here. But I don't really like the idea of bringing Jimmy Garoppolo back. He can't stay healthy. He's really expensive. He's not that good. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would you do?
Honestly, like I've said, like I really don't know. I'm kind of torn here. I feel like they don't have a choice. Like if you're looking, like we're saying, if you're looking at this season as a rebuild, okay, what is the perfect cover for your rebuild? Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he is your scapegoat.
Ooh,
whatever happens next year, Jimmy is the reason.
Yeah, you're right.
We tried one more time with Jimmy. We thought he was our guy.
Yeah,
but it wasn't him. So now we have to start over. Even though you started, you really already starting over.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
so do you think what they'll do is they'll keep Jimmy and then draft a quarterback, and then when Jimmy fails, they'll be like, well, we got this guy, or they'll wait until next year to draft a quarterback?
No, I think they'll wait. I don't think they draft. Like, they might do a CJ, a third, fourth round, like a Sutfeld,
Yes.
But I don't think they draft like high. I don't think they take the guy high.
Okay, let me ask you this. They have said, like, look, we would move on from Jimmy if there was an upgrade. I can think of one upgrade off the top of my head. He wouldn't be cheaper. He wouldn't be younger, but he'd be about the same price. What about Matt Ryan? Trade for him. I don't even know if he'd be available. But to me, Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Jimmy G. He's not the greatest, but he doesn't get hurt. and he throws for about 4,500 yards a year.
Right.
Eh,
I don't
eh,
I don't hate it, but
eh. Yeah.
okay, so what are you doing with Jimmy? Are you trading him or are you cutting him if you do that?
I mean,
What does Atlanta want? Like, what does
yeah, I
Atlanta
know.
want to get him?
Probably a first and a second. Probably a first, right? I mean, Matt Ryan's pretty good. Probably a first and a second. I mean,
so
what could
money
you
and picks.
I don't know. He's still expensive.
Like
But you got to give him
said,
money.
you know, Stafford. Like,
Yeah.
why would you come? Like, unless he begs out of Detroit, why would you come to Detroit and get rid of your franchise guy?
It's true, man.
Everybody tells you that it's hard to find a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you got at least a decent to very good quarterback on a reasonable contract. And the first move you make is to get rid of him.
I know. I know. It just seems like actually the draw in Detroit is Stafford and the draw in Atlanta is Ryan. Like without those two guys, what are you doing?
It's kind of like back to Patriots and, you know, like, hey, hopefully Saleh gets the Detroit job and does us a favor.
Right.
And, you know,
because that's what he's thinking. I'm going to go to Detroit and sabotage my opportunity to be a head coach to help Kyle because I'm a good guy. That's what I want to do.
Kyle gave me a job. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Because that's what Kyle did when he came to the Niners. He just sent all the good players back to Atlanta and said, "Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you. Appreciate you."
No, they sent us the leftovers in Coleman.
That's
like,
right.
Like we're gonna do y'all a favor. That kind of leads me to another one. Like two things about him. Juice. Okay, like some are saying he didn't have a very good year. Besides, like I'm kind of with you. Whether the year was good or not, like what's the usage?
Thank you.
Like for the pay anyway. Like how much?
$5 million a year. He got 36 touches.
Right. So, like as far as I know, I don't remember a fullback in Washington that was of any concern. I don't remember a fullback in Atlanta. Like I remember Freeman, I remember Coleman, but I don't remember a fullback. But now all of a sudden, Kyle needed a fullback. You know.
All right. And he needed to pay him through the nose, and he called him an offensive weapon to justify it.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If Juice is so important, why don't you just franchise him?
Right. All right. Because
what is his average top 5 of a fullback? He's gonna take a pay cut.
True. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
But you won't. Why? Because you love Juice and you want to put some dollars in his pocket one way or another. That's why you don't do it.
That's right. Because he's in the clique.
He's in the clique.
He's in the clique.
Who else is in the clique? Your left tackle. Oh. How do you, left tackles don't become free? Well, how did you become free, Mr. Trent Williams? Oh, well, you know, Kyle and Lynch, they were good guys, and they said, come on board and we'll make it to where we can't even franchise tag you.
Yep.
You're a complete free agent, left tackle.
And Trent Williams was like, hey, thanks. I'll see you in free agency. And if you have the highest bid, then I'm coming back. And if you don't, and it's been real, take care.
Do you know how much money I've missed messing around with the Washington used to be Redskins? Like I am getting all my bread before my career is over.
He sat out a year and got 0 game checks. He's getting money. The Niners, I think the Niners thought that maybe if they had shown a gesture of good faith by saying we won't franchise you, that he would return the favor and say, I won't go to free agency. Apparently they tried to work this out before week 17 and couldn't do it.
That's what I heard.
They played themselves.
They played themselves.
Like, I could have told you we wanted the money. I could have told you that. I want the money.
The Vikings figure it out. Like, why would you get rid of the tag unless you wanted as much money as possible? That's the only reason. The top 5 average for left tackle is going to be big money.
It's going to be 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
No, if I come there, you gave up.
Who else is in the clique? CJ's in the clique. Trent Taylor's in the clique.
Trent, oh God, how much time did you waste on that guy? But Richie James can't get on the field.
Not in the clique.
Every time you play this guy, he shows you he's a player, even though he started to mess up on punts and was loose with the football. But as a receiver, he has not shown you anything except that he is a capable receiver.
Yep.
And
but not in the clique.
He's buried on the bench.
Jordan Reed in the clique. For some reason. I don't know if he is anymore. Jordan Reed. Who else? I mean,
Kittles is definitely in the clique. Probably belongs in the clique.
Yep. I don't know if Garoppolo is anymore. I don't know.
think Garoppolo ever was.
I don't know. Yeah,
Garoppolo, like we said, like it's kind of like how he came in is the same. I'm saying this coming up year. Like he was brought in because you had the stink of an 8-game losing streak all over you. And
that's correct.
And Bill
had they won like 2 of those 8 games, they never would have made this trade. They would have stuck it out for Cousins.
Exactly. Yes. They would. He wanted Cousins. We all know that. And that's why I never understood. Why did you pony up a big long-term deal for Garoppolo? Why not
5 games? Yeah, why not franchise him? Do what Washington did with Cousins.
All you had was cap space back then. I mean, you handed out $50 million to Malcolm Smith. You had tons of, so it would have been like $20 million back then to franchise him for 1 year. Yep. Then you would have been coming off of ACL. So if nothing else, you would have lowered his contract going into 2019.
He'd be so cheap right now. He would be so cheap right now had they.
He's not Dak. He didn't have skins on the wall before the ACL. All he had was 4 games that he didn't finish in New England and a little 5-game stretch for the Niners to end the year that nobody cared about. So if he came into 2018 and tears his ACL, even if you think he's the guy leading into 2019, like we signing a shorter term deal for less money to make sure you're right coming off the ACL.
Yep.
But no, but this team, like they have heart, but then they don't. Because what did you do to a player that was drafted, did everything you asked him to do, week in, week out.
Yep.
In the playoffs this year, unlike my beloved Niners. You know where I'm going, Grant.
Yep.
Defoe.
That's right.
Big number 99. What did that man do? That man just showed up and went to work every day and led your organization.
Mm-hmm.
You used to put 1 million snaps on this guy.
Yeah.
Never complained once.
2-14. Defoe, go play the whole game. We need you.
Whole game. We need you.
No problem. Got it.
Armstead's out. Defoe. We need you to go play another 85, 90% of the snap.
Love to.
Happy you all the way till you start getting good again.
Yep.
And what do you do with one of your leaders? You send him on.
Hey, thanks for everything, but you're not really that important. Eric Armstead can approximate what you gave us.
You want too much money. Like we can't afford you, Defoe. Like we can make moves to do everything else, but nah, defensive attack. Your position isn't of value. But we gave
Jimmy Garoppolo $125 million after 5 starts, but you haven't shown us enough. Sorry,
you haven't shown us enough. You're not worthy.
Nah, sorry, buddy. It's not good enough.
Actually, like we could easily replace you. You know.
Yeah. Like so here's the thing, real quick. Here's what I see with the Niners because they have had some success. I see them as a team that had 2 excellent coordinators. They're losing 1. But Shanahan's a good coordinator, 2 excellent coordinators, a bunch of good position coaches, a good coaching staff, no head coach, no general manager. So I see.
Because you had too many hats on Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean, there's no general manager on this team, and there's no head coach on this team.
But people talk like we have one.
No.
I mean, you lose Peters. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know who's evaluating. Like after if he leaves, like I mean, I don't know why you didn't move Lynch up. Lynch is a figurehead. He talks for a living.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice
guy. Yeah. I mean, like I say, can we talk about how bargain being like this is what I don't understand. Prague is a genius, but we're up against the cap all the time.
Yep.
Like you didn't have money to move Kevin White up from the practice squad because his contract would have became guaranteed. While at the same time, Lynch is saying you don't need any money.
Wow.
Like we don't need to restructure Jimmy right now. We got plenty of money.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's why I couldn't be a reporter because I'd just be like, man, like
what are you talking about?
Like,
Lynch, what are you talking about?
You couldn't field a team or you couldn't pull up a guy from the practice squad. So we know how much people are making on the practice squad. It ain't much money.
Yeah.
I mean, to NFL players, it's not much money. To your average Joe, it's a lot. But to them, it's not much money. So you couldn't bring a guy up because his salary, you know who else we forgot about this year?
Who?
Ziggy Ansah.
Ziggy.
You remember that guy?
I do. He played like 1.5 minutes. I think he played 3 minutes.
I mean, that guy knew what was coming. He was like, nope, if I can't get this amount of money to come out here and get hurt, I don't want to play for you.
I want $3 million to get hurt, and he got it.
Immediately, like it's the first
The
day.
American dream. Good for you, Ziggy. I salute you.
Hey,
So
Ziggy, good job. You again, like what are we saying? They got played again.
If you want to get paid to be hurt, come to the 49ers.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith
proved on the bench all day.
I don't get it. I don't know what I just want to know what the plan is. I want long-term success. And I'm not saying Kyle isn't the guy to get us there, but he's got a lot more to show.
It seems to me today that
with these coordinators leaving,
it seems that Kyle and Lynch got hired on 6-year deals. They had a plan. They're entering year 5, and now they're pivoting to some other plan.
Because, like I was saying, start at the beginning, the plan made no sense. It made no sense. Who starts with a franchise quarterback?
Yeah,
you maybe young, cheap franchise, but who starts with a proven guy in free agency?
You don't even have. The plan was I'm going to get Kirk Cousins in year 2. That's not a plan. It's not a plan. You can't control that. You can't trade for him. He might say he wants to go to you and then leverage you to get a fully guaranteed contract that Parag Marath isn't willing to give him in Minnesota.
Parag doesn't even know how to spell fully guaranteed.
Thank you. Again, like Andy Reid didn't have some great quarterback right away in Kansas City, so we got Alex Smith, and that was smart. But they didn't even do that with Kirk Cousins. They went, you know what? Let's get Brian Hoyer. Let's start with Brian Hoyer. Well, now you're 1-10. How's that going? Now you got to change your plan, give up on Kirk Cousins, just to appease Jed York, and bring in Jimmy Garoppolo, who you don't even really like that much, and now you're stuck with him for 4 years. Well, yeah, and now you're chasing that mistake, as you put it. I like the concept, chasing your tail. So
they continue to do it. I mean, if they wouldn't, they would see what they have. Like they would see, like you say, a Contavious Street. Like has the D line not shown you this year that I'm not saying Kinlaw won't be good or maybe great someday, but he's showing you it was unnecessary. They had bodies. They got Givens. They had Street. They had DJ Jones. Like, that would be smart to me. They're saying, you know what, Defo, we love you. You were here, but we got some other guys that are younger that we can bring in here, and we can use this first-round pick on something else.
And same to you, Eric Armstead. But no.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
They did all that money when Kerry Hyder's better than him. Deion Jordan had more production as a pass rusher than Eric Armstead this year.
Oh, but once we get all the other talent around Armstead, then he'll be good. Like, that makes no sense.
Let's see how Robert Saleh leaves. I'm curious to see what this defense looks like next year with a totally new defensive coordinator. It might be DeMeco Ryans, and I like DeMeco Ryans. Everyone raves about him. He's 36 years old. He's been a position coach for like 2 years. He might have some growing pains. I mean, Saleh did.
He will have some growing pains.
I'm saying.
It'll be on Kyle to like pick up the slack as far as like his offense. But like again, he's not going like I don't get how he keeps doing this to himself. Like they keep acting like it's getting done to him, but he's doing it to himself. Like these are his quarterbacks. These are Kyle's quarterbacks year in, year out. Nobody is telling Kyle Shanahan who should be the quarterback of the 49ers right now. It's his choice. And it's not been good choice.
That's a very specific skill set. And it makes him a very good offensive coordinator. But there are so many other skills you have to be a head coach. And it's, as you said, it's a lot of your decision making with personnel, with game management. And one more thing, I think temperament and personality matters too. Now, Bill Belichick is this introverted, quiet, geeky guy, and it works for him. But every other successful head coach has a charisma about him, somewhat of a. You seem like they're good with people. Saleh's that way.
You have to be a people person.
You have to be a people person. Saleh is a people person. People gravitate to him. They follow him.
Right.
Kyle's is a brain. He's a brainiac, and people respect him. But I get the feeling he's most comfortable in a room by himself watching tape.
Right, with nobody else there.
So that's how I feel.
And I mean, I think a lot of people take like having a little hip hop swag to you, like liking J's, like they take that as being like, oh, look, the coach is hip. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm with you. Like always, one of my great lines in a football movie is Any Given Sunday. And Lawrence Taylor asked, Willie Beeman. He said, "Yeah, you led, Ninja, but did anybody follow?"
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? He was like, he wasn't saying that you weren't the better quarterback, but he was saying you were alienating other people. So
Right.
it didn't matter how good you were because you weren't bringing the other players along with you.
Here's the
It's
way
like,
I look at the difference between him and Salah. When Salah's players come off the field, what does Salah do?
he's cheering them on.
He
Yeah.
hugs them and cheers them, and he's right there with them. When Shanahan's players come off the field, what does he do?
He's focusing on the next. Yeah, he's looking at his play sheet for the next drive so he can figure out the next shotgun run and fourth down.
And I'm not saying you have to be a rah-rah guy. I just see that he seems to be much more comfortable looking at, a playbook than a person.
Like the OC up in the booth looking down, calling plays, as opposed to the guy on the sideline leading them in.
And so, honestly, if I were Jed York, I'd be thinking right now, I'm about to lose my best coach. Just the way Arthur Blank should have been thinking in 2016 when Kyle Shanahan left and he was left with Dan Quinn. I'm losing Robert Saleh. That guy's going to be a successful head coach somewhere, and I'm stuck with an offensive coordinator. I'm scared. I'd be scared if I were Jed York. Scared.
But the only thing I would say is that Kyle chose Saleh.
True.
So
maybe you can do it again.
It wasn't like Saleh was a hot commodity and like everybody knew this is the guy to get to run you. So if Kyle had the eye to find Saleh, you hope he has the eye to find the next guy. And he was a little open in the press conference too, with saying that he wasn't, even though he said this is the defense he wanted when he started, he said he's not going to marry himself to just the cover 3 defense. So it's like if the next guy, if it was Fangio and he wanted to run the 3-4 and felt like you had the pieces, I think he would be okay with that. So that, to me, that's showing a little growth. I'll tell you another thing that showed a little growth was the Wilson Jr., the fumble.
Yes.
Last year, he would have got buried on the bench like Raheem Mostert got buried when he had a couple of fumble issues. So that showed a little growth that he kept putting him out there. Maybe he didn't have much choice, depending on, considering what was behind him. But let's look at this thing. Okay. Is the lack of practice part of the reason we had the injuries? Like, basically everything they do is a walkthrough, pretty much, isn't it? Like, they're not tackling. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to go. I mean, I'm not saying you should be banging heads every day, but
let me tell you, their training camps are light. Harbaugh's were like 2.5 hour days with some live tackling. Shanahan's are about 90 minutes with no live tackling. What I've heard, though, Chase Claypool mentioned it, that the Niners mid-season practices, they have a day of full pads every week. And some teams knock that off. Some teams will go full walkthrough like from week 8 on because players are so sore. So what I feel is that the training camp is light and the mid-season practices are actually a little bit taxing compared to other teams.
But they still not tackling, right?
No.
You're putting your pads on.
Never. They don't do it. Oh, I did.
Like, I mean, where do you get hurt at? Like, you get hurt tackling. Like, you practice tackling isn't just for the tackler. It's for the person getting tackled. It's learning to get hit. It's learning how to go down to keep from getting twisted up. Now, you can't avoid somebody just stepping on the back of your leg or something like that. But how you go down, learning when to give up, as ED said, Emmitt Smith said, like learning when the journey is over.
Yes.
Like, I think that's a lot of Kittle's injuries. It's like being the tough guy. Like, I'm gonna get that extra 5 yards. It might cost me the rest of the season, but I got that. I'm a yak, bro. That's
right. And when do the injuries happen? Not in practice when you're practicing tackling. They happen in games when you haven't practiced tackling. Exactly. That's when the injuries happen. Yeah,
exactly. Because you're not used. Your body isn't used to being tackled. It isn't used to going down.
That's right. That's right.
Quarterbacks get hurt because they don't get tackled in practice. The league protects them, so they rarely get hit during the game. So that's why when they get hit a lot of times, it's catastrophic.
Jimmy got hit 12 times all season and got hurt twice. 12.
Right.
That's it.
I mean, they were calling that first one, and I think against the Jets, dirty, and I really didn't see it. Like, the guy was just trying to make a play. They was like, "Oh, did you see him down at his ankles?" Like, Jimmy just looked awkward the whole year. He didn't look right. I think Tom Brady was in his head. Like, they tried to get rid of you.
Yeah. They tried to get rid of you. You were the mindset that you were going to replace Tom Brady in New England. And they kind of led you on and said, yeah, we like you, man. You're going to be the heir apparent. Then they ship you out to San Francisco, and then Brady's coming for your job. When you thought you were going to replace him, it must be tough.
Brady said, man, you got a nice thing going out there in San Francisco.
I'm actually from out there. I think I'll take your job. I like that. Should have given it to him.
And now I'm hearing, like, nobody said this before, but now I'm hearing it was money. Like,
that's what I heard.
I
heard it was basically a difference in a few million, like 7 or 8, which is ridiculous. But here's the thing: everyone's saying that since Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and he's slow, that the Niners need a mobile quarterback. Well, Tom Brady's not fast. He didn't get hurt this year. It seems to me you just need a quarterback who can protect himself on the field. I don't think Jimmy can anymore. When the protection breaks down, he looks like a chicken with his head cut off, man. I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's looking at anymore. Like, it's just like he doesn't see it. I think like Kyle turned him into a robot though, in some way. You know,
he questions all of his instincts now, and now he has none.
Right. Yeah, he spent that whole offseason trying to learn the offense and just being turned into a robot, like, you know, do this, this, and this. And Kyle doesn't leave him really any flexibility to improvise or, you know, to do other things. Like,
he did so well in 2017 to get the contract. Improvise.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, that's what people don't understand. Yeah, he might have had the same slight turnover issue in 2017. But if you look at that 5-game stretch and tell me you've seen that Jimmy again since then, like you're delusional. That was a different guy. That was a literal gunslinger, not throwing the ball a lot. Like he was just out there like trading bullets with the best of them at the moment, you know, shot for shot. Like people point to that Saints game. That Saints game was a lot of run. Like we were scoring, but it wasn't like Jimmy G dropping back and out dueling Drew Brees. Even that final play, it was 4th and 1. Like we were already struggling on that drive. Like we had barely made Kittle's turn that into a big play.
And when the pass was behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it wasn't Jimmy G, like just was really like put the team on his back. You know, we should have won that Baltimore game, whether or not, you know. I mean, it's just that's what I was trying to say at the end of last year. Like this year is what I was talking about. It's why when that opportunity is there, you have to seize it.
Yeah.
Like
it's not as simple as, hey, run it back. No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. And I think people are starting to understand that. People get hurt. Like look at the Chiefs. Like they're about to run it back. Like you mad at them, but look at them. Like they're sitting with a bye week. You know, that's why our injuries, like you can't use the excuse of we went to the Super Bowl. So did they. I think they lost more people opting out for COVID than we did.
Right. That's right. You know, they lost starting offensive linemen. That's right. Duvernay parted.
Man, so that's what I meant by going back to the beginning. If you can't understand your weaknesses, understand your flaws, how are you ever going to get better? You have to recognize those things to improve them.
And like their attitude coming into this year was, we don't really have weaknesses.
We don't. We deep. We don't have no weaknesses. Like you tiptoeing all last year on Bosa.
Yeah.
Like hell, do you remember at the end of the year when everybody was happy when he got back up?
Yep.
Like, oh, he got it. So why should we be that shocked this year he went down?
Yeah.
Because he showed he had an injury history coming in. D Ford, everybody pointed to the fact that he had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we was like, we can deal with it.
One more thing. People point to Kyle Shanahan's 13-3 season as proof that he's a hell of a head coach. The Niners did a lot of things to go 13-3. They made a lot of like mortgaging the future for one good season moves to get that 13-3. They traded for D Ford, who the Chiefs knew had injury issues. They signed Alexander off a torn ACL. I mean, they made a lot of like desperation, gotta make the playoffs move. They traded for Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, they were going to win a chance. And now you look at a team that's like, who signed for 2022? Like this is you're rebuilding.
Pittsburgh left him out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys. I mean, they to me, I felt like they have to make the playoffs in 2019 to keep their jobs. So they made a bunch of moves, a bunch of win now moves. It almost got them to a Super Bowl victory. It didn't, and now they're kind of like the Rams.
I mean, the you can't look at Cohn Alexander and say we knew what we had in Warner, but we still did Cohn Alexander.
Right. I had no idea what they had in Warner.
Right. Yeah, maybe he gave him a little bit as far as like, mental, like, hey, Warner, like, get with it, hot boys. Like, maybe he encouraged him a little bit, like Sanders with Debo. But go back to Debo. Like I was saying the other day, like, it hurts me to watch A.J. Brown.
That was my guy.
That guy is so good. Like, and we all saw it again. Like, we're watching this guy. We're like, yeah, Metcalf is at Mississippi State, Ole Miss, but look at this guy, A.J. Brown, and what he does. Like, you don't think Jimmy could succeed with a guy like that?
Everyone can succeed with a guy like that. And you like Debo Samuel too. But Debo Samuel has injury issues that were apparent in college.
But what
and Jalen Hurts has injury issues that were apparent in college. You bring this on yourself.
He's a Cal. What is Debo? A Cal guy from where?
Yep.
Senior Bowl.
Same with Hurts.
He's a Cal guy. Draft that guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I won't lie. The Senior Bowl did aid them that year too.
It did.
Like they got a lot of players out of that, being able to see them early and in practice, whatnot, before the draft even came up. But yeah, again, it's chasing that tail. Like you're saying, you're chasing the Dante Pettis mistake. You drafted him, like you saw something. He was one of the best punt returners, but you never let him return punts. Like
right. Same with Ayuk. You won't let him return punts.
Yeah, we saw 1 or 2 punt returns, which I won't lie. I was nervous about him getting hurt with the way this season is gone. But it's kind of like you say, like you can't play scared, and that's what. That's what they do a lot of times. Like, people think they're risky, and they're not. Like, I mean, it looks like a risk later on, but they're not like putting themselves out there, like drafting a quarterback in the first round, like we're saying with Mahomes, with Watson. Like, that has to work. You can't miss on first round quarterbacks and usually survive in a job in the NFL. So it's a risk there, but they didn't want to take that risk. They went the safe route with somebody I coached in summer school, John Lynch, with solid. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all I'm saying is Kyle's lucky that he got that extension coming off that Super Bowl loss, because if he hadn't gotten it, he'd be going into year 5 of a 6-year deal, coming off a 6-10 season, looking for a new quarterback. Things would be tense. Yeah. He wouldn't be able to think about building for the future. He'd be thinking about saving my job.
Right.
That's where he'd be at. He's lucky. He had good timing on that one.
He did have good timing.
I'm sorry, but I bet Jed Fields got played.
Like, I asked the question like this. Okay, like you saying, offensive mind. Okay, Kyle gets another job. Let's say coordinator or head coach. Does he get a job with all the power if he leaves today? Name me the organization that hands him the keys to the whole organization.
No, because what they would say is, hey, Kyle the GM got Kyle the head coach fired. Right. You're a good. Let's just take. Let me let you focus on coaching. We'll focus on personnel because you don't do that well.
And that's see, if he would have made a better hire to me, as far as GM, as far as who he brought in, like, I think that would have worked better. If he could have just been like, if Lynch was a guy that he just said, Lynch, like, I trust you, you know what I like, you know what I want, I'm going to focus on just being the head coach. But he can't do that because he knows Lynch isn't that guy. Lynch never was that guy. He hired
Lynch is so that he could be the guy and people wouldn't know it. I'm going to hire a guy who has no expertise. That way, he won't argue with me when I say I want this guy.
How can he? He knows he is dependent on me. I hired him.
He has no scouting background, so he'll just say, all right, Kyle, I'll get you what you want.
Exactly. That's why they immediately had to go out and get Peters.
And so when Kyle misses guys, he'll be like, well, my GM isn't helping me. Well, you wanted that. You could have had competent GMs. You hired a broadcaster.
This was your setup. That man just called you on the phone and said, you know what? Like, I'd love to come and join you. Like, not that he had any real experience. I mean, he had spent a little time with Elway, the guy that's about to leave his job at GM in Denver because he's been so awful at picking his own position, quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Hey, look,
So imagine this year we had traded that first round pick and got some extra picks to fill in the depth. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of taking Kinlaw, maybe take IU because you still needed some help in the wide receiver. But what if you trade that 14th pick and get you like 3 other picks and IU?
I got to run. It's about noon my time. And I think we're going up against an hour. But real quick, I want to leave on this thought. Tell me what you think. There's not a lot of empathy in Niners Nation for Jed York. Basically, people hate that guy. And for good reason. But you know what? He fired Jim Tomsula after 1 year. He fired Chip Kelly after 1 year. He gave these 6-year contracts to John and Kyle. He's doing the best he can to make the sincere effort to win. And I gotta feel like he's looking at John and Kyle and being like, man, I got played again. I got played again. You said you had a plan, and now you're on plan B in year 5. I really feel like he keeps throwing money at the situation and keeps, I don't know, getting let down. I almost feel bad for
him. I think Jed is a microcosm of the whole thing we're talking about. I think he's chasing his tail. I think he made the wrong decision with Harbaugh. And ever since then, he's been chasing his tail.
Right. And so he was so happy to be like, I got Harbaugh's replacement. Harbaugh's, we don't care about him anymore. We're on to the future. Everything's good. Let me give you an extension. No, you don't have Harbaugh.
Yeah, it was kind of a desperate, thirsty type of move, you know. And I asked ED this the other day. I'm like I'm a little older. I'm 44. Eric Davis.
Okay, he's so good. So
he
good.
is. I mean that
so good.
So good. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm 44, so I've seen some very good Niners. But like we said, like the PTSD, like has the fandom been beat into submission to where like just making the playoffs or just not being an awful team is acceptable. Like that's
I think it's aesthetic. I think just having an offense that has some big plays and looks kind of fun is cool. Yeah. I don't think they care how many turnovers, how many injuries, how many losses. They just want a more exciting offense than what Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh had.
Right, and what Chip Kelly, you know, running out that same offense. So I give Jed credit for trying, but it's like, again, we're saying, like, you can't just keep chasing your old mistakes. You can't just say, like, you already saw, like Harbaugh went to a Super Bowl. So, you know, there's no use ponying up like that much. Like, why would you? You still had years left on their deal.
Right. They had 3 years left on their deal for each one. I mean, and when Harbaugh did the same thing, you were like, nah, we don't reward NFC championships. Sorry.
And it's an oxymoron. Like, you know, I seen earlier before we got on Twitter, Jed came out with a comment about, you know, the times we're going through. Well, you know what I remember, Jed? I remember a guy in the White House was beating the hell out of your quarterback you had under contract. I don't remember you coming out one time to defend the man. But now, you know, now you see what's going on in the world, and he was right. But y'all never defended him, never brought him back, never celebrated what he did. Right. So it's like you want to do the right thing, but you still can't quite get there. And I don't know how much Jed really has to say. Like, I think his parents have a lot to say behind the scenes of the York.
Agree.
He's kind of like a Lynch. Like, he's taking all the bullets. Yes. But at the end of the day, mom and dad are like, you know, like they were like, you know, somebody, when they said about the hotel bill, they was like, well, who the hell? It's the San Francisco 49ers. I hope they paid for the damn hotel.
I would imagine. I mean,
why would the NFL pay for the Niners movement?
Yeah, I don't think so. The Cardinals didn't pay.
The Cardinals sure didn't pay, especially after we put them out the playoffs. But it's been a pleasure, Grant.
It's been a pleasure. You kill it always. Let's get you back on sooner than that. Let's wait. Let's not let 12 months pass. Let's do it again soon.
Let's not. We'll do it again soon.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll be back in an hour with an All 49ers Roundtable. Take care.